There's a storm across the valley. The clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder.
Welcome to Community Forum. Today is October 24th, 2025. I'm Priscilla Almquist Olsen, your host, and today it gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome as our guest State Senator Bill Driscoll. Welcome, Bill.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. It was difficult to get you pinned down to a date, but that's because you're doing your job. You're a very busy senator.
We're up on Beacon Hill quite a bit, trying to focus our attention there and get ingrained in the Senate. I spent 8 years in the House of Reps, and so I kind of understand a little bit of how the House works, and now I'm learning the ways of the Senate.
And those ways are a little bit different.
It is. I would liken it to, for anyone that's changed careers or within an industry, maybe moving from one company to another. Each company is very different, and there's different players and different personalities, and they may do things a little bit differently. Ultimately, we're trying to do the people's work and support the Commonwealth. But the big difference is there's only 40 senators as opposed to 160 state reps, but the same number of committees.
Wow.
And so I went from having chairing one committee as a state rep to now I'm on, I feel like all of the committees because there's just not enough senators to be spread around. And so I'm chairing public health, and I'm a vice chair of consumer protection and vice chair of public safety, and I'm probably on a dozen others that we're coping and trying to manage through it all.
Yeah. One of my co-ops, I went to Northeastern Law, and one of my co-ops was with the Consumer Protection Agency.
Yep.
And I'm sure you deal a lot with them too.
Yeah, we do. I think like as we'll talk about, and a lot of what we do in the office, and I'm supported by a great staff, is help constituents, folks in the district, and consumer protection is one of the places that we talk to quite a bit. People don't feel like they're getting a fair shake on something, or they were wronged in some way. We can help them appeal certain things or escalate a case, essentially, that they may have, or if it's Department of Unemployment Insurance, there's been huge backlogs, unfortunately, over the past year or so. And so we have people coming to us that are, like we get emails that we've been waiting 14 weeks, been waiting so many months to get an answer back. My payment's stopped, I don't know why. We can help, so please reach out before 14 weeks go by. But we can help escalate the case in the back end with DUA. And sometimes the answer is no, there is a legitimate reason, but we can make sure that you're getting your case looked at and hopefully get things
Well,
flowing.
Elizabeth Warren was, she ran on that. I mean, consumer protection, especially with the banks and credit and so forth. And she founded the Federal Consumer Protection Agency, or whatever it's called.
Hopefully it survives the current federal administration, because it's an important one. I think, again, the minutia of government kind of gets lost, but anyone that has a credit card right now knows that statement's changed over the last 3 or 4 years to become, I think, a little bit more transparent in terms of how it all works, and that's a result of Senator Warren's work and that agency's work to make sure that people understand, in layman's terms, right on the page, that they get a monthly statement.
And wasn't it a shame that President Trump didn't put her in charge of that? Wasn't it Trump that back in the day, the first term?
It would have been an interesting bipartisan appointment.
But that caused her to run for the Senate.
Yeah.
So it backfired.
Yeah, I think she's been doing a great job as senator. So I'm happy with her there. I think she's got some good ideas. We don't always agree, but certainly the work on consumer protection has been tremendous.
Exactly, and she's such a smart cookie. Harvard professor. Come on.
Right.
Wow, in the School of Law. I mean, so she's amazing and so articulate. And the interesting thing is that people that are so intellectual like that don't always come off as warm and caring and down to earth, and and she has all that.
Yeah, and I remember when the center was first running, talking about how we invest in infrastructure and we invest in education, and we all benefit from that, and the corporations benefit from that, and they're able to come and build a business in Massachusetts, and it's not by accident that we have smart people, hardworking people here, and good infrastructure to support those businesses. And it was really, I think she's able to kind of holistically tie it all together in a good way. I wish I could.
So what
wish
is
I
some?
could do that.
So, as chairman of the Consumer Protection Committee, what sorts of challenges are you facing at the moment?
Yeah, so vice chair of that, and I'm chair of the public health. But the consumer protection side of things is a lot of licensure, and making sure that industry is treating consumers, in a fair way with contracts and things. I've actually filed some legislation to make sure that we have a handle on some of the alternative energy sources like solar, people going door to door signing people up, that people understand what they're signing up for, because there's been some bad actors. Again, there are a lot of good companies in that space, but there are some predatory practices that we're trying to make sure don't continue. Because it can affect someone's mortgage in terms of getting a lien on the property, that kind of thing.
I see. So what about, can the average resident voter contact your committee with complaints about things, or is there a general complaint office that one calls for the Senate?
Yeah, I think no matter whether it's here in Easton or anywhere, ultimately you want to contact your local state rep and state senator. They'll figure out, the staff is trained in how to kind of figure out the bureaucratic where to go and who might have the information.
Now, I know the Attorney General's, I did a co-op in the under Scott Hashbarger in the, if you remember him.
AG, yeah.
He
ran for governor
AG's
at some point,
office. Yeah, and I was actually the Women's Rights Office of the Civil Rights Division. And, okay, so where was I going with this?
Consumer protection, or trying to find the way through government.
Yes. And, I know what. So we have there's a complaint office.
Yes.
So you just call this number and somebody answers and you say, I have a complaint about X. Now it can be environmental, it can be a bank issue, it can, whatever. So they will then refer it to the right place. Now maybe it goes back to you in the Senate, maybe it goes to the House, or maybe it goes to the governor's office, or maybe it stays in the Attorney General's office and in the right department to deal with it. And then
we've taken advantage to Attorney General Campbell and her team. We've had a couple of constituent issues where we didn't think it really fit within the administration agencies, and we've gone to them to see if it fits. And some of them do, and they're able to kind of take it off our hands and follow up, and then we'll make sure that the constituents in the loop in terms of where things are going.
Yeah.
But on public health, I know one issue that Easton knows a lot about, certainly town administrator is one of the experts on, is PFAS, forever chemicals. We have an omnibus piece of legislation, a really large, multifaceted piece of legislation. We've got some smaller bills that we're considering in front of the committee, and it covers the full gamut around whether it's, I know Easton knows a lot about drinking water quality and trying to take the PFAS out of that, municipal water supply. There's an agricultural aspect to this for farmers, and then people like you and I that eat food and things that are grown on farms and sold at farms. We're hearing from all sorts of consumer products that have PFAS in them. PFAS is used in, I wish I had a scientific background, having been appointed to this committee, because there's 15,000 different types of PFAS. And
only six are tested for.
Exactly, and so we're looking to make headway on this issue, and we're trying to figure out right now, as we review the testimony and the bills that have been filed, how to take a substantial consequential step in Massachusetts to deal with the issue.
Well, one thing you can do is pass a law that forbids artificial turf,
Okay. Yeah,
because
toxic.
artificial turf is filled with PFAS. It's PFAS from corner to corner. And do you know that the greatest number of, well, say on a soccer field, who do you think has the highest incident of cancer of all the players?
Who does?
Of all the players, which player has the highest rate of cancer on a PFAS artificial turf?
The goalie.
Right. See,
Yeah.
he's really smart. And that is because the goalie is always rolling around in the turf.
Yeah.
And there's scientific proof. They've done surveys and stuff, and it's just awful. So you're a little 4-year-old who's playing soccer. Think about that. He falls on the turf, and it permeates the skin, and that's how PFAS
Yeah, it's definitely concerning.
contributes to
Yeah, there's
cancer.
some bills on those playing fields as well that are before, I think, us or consumer protection at this point. Environmental committee has some of the agricultural bills and things are related to playing surfaces.
Do you know Dr. Kyla Bennett?
I don't think I do.
Oh, you should get to know her.
Okay.
She's executive director of PEER, which is Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility.
Sure.
And she's been on CNN and MSNBC and probably Fox too, who knows. She's an expert on toxins. She was with the EPA for a while, and she lives here in Easton. She's a good friend and colleague of mine. She's has her doctorate in ecology, but also she's has her law degree. So she's the lawyer for PEER, and she led the fight, and I got up and backed her at a town meeting where we said, no, we don't want this artificial turf. Mm-hmm. And it was voted down, and then somebody asked for reconsideration. That's a big, dangerous
Sure.
petition.
The intricacies of town meeting.
Exactly. Yeah. And this guy got up, and he just lamented so beautifully how much money he had raised, and what a shame for this couple $100,000 to go to waste, and then they voted it in. So Easton has PFAS, is promoting PFAS in its artificial turf to this day. Yeah. And so it wasn't a surprise when we had to have a treatment plant that cost $9 million to get rid of the PFAS.
Yeah,
that was not, we realized it was going to, and it wasn't just from the turf, it's from all kinds of other things too. But it's really, and by the way, when you talk about PFAS being in products and things that you buy and you eat, it's in our bodies.
Yeah,
it's even in our brains.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a qualifying for someone that isn't familiar with the issue. The concern is they call it forever chemicals because you tend not to, there's some of them go right through you, so to speak, but others stay in and they're not going anywhere.
For example, a breastfeeding mama is putting PFAS in her newborn.
Right.
It's just insidious.
Yeah.
So get that rolling.
Yeah, because we were hoping that something like this would be handled at the federal level, but there just doesn't seem to be, particularly on this issue, but at large, not much of a movement there. And so I think there's a lot of folks actually around the country looking to Massachusetts to take the next step. Minnesota took a big step because they have the 3M story there with the forever chemicals that were in some of their products. And so we joined only a few if we were to take another big step in this regard. We've done some work on it so far, but.
So besides Easton, what other towns do you represent?
So I have Braintree, Milton, Randolph, Bridgewater, West Bridgewater, Easton, Stoughton.
So the district is so much bigger than when you represented as a rep.
Yeah, it's about, so I represented around 42,000 people as a rep, and a Senate district's about 160,000 people. And so, I have 7 almost complete towns. I have most of Braintree, not all of it. I've got about half of Randolph. I share that with Senator Brady.
But you have all of Easton.
All of Easton, yeah. So there was an effort during the last redistricting phase that we go through after the census every 10 years, there was an effort, a concerted effort to consolidate when possible so that an entire town had
Right.
a single senator or a single rep if possible. Sometimes it's just not the case. Having represented now, like for example, Randolph, both as a rep and as a senator, given the geographic density around Randolph, it ends up having to either have 2 senators or 2 reps, and
Oh,
there's some people just get squeezed, and it's by the nature of where they are. And so similarly, I have 9 out of 12 precincts in Braintree, so Senator Keenan can get over to the other side and connect to the rest of his district.
yeah.
And if you look to, there's all sorts of, very storied gerrymandering, which may
Yeah.
actually be called gerrymandering, because it was Elbridge Gerry who was the vice president. That was the and former governor of Massachusetts. Where that comes from, but
Yes.
we've all come to
And
call
so,
it gerrymandering. But his name was actually Gerry.
Gary, and,
Yeah.
and so it was a Massachusetts guy.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. So, what are some of the challenges that you've been facing that maybe some of your constituents have brought up to you?
Yeah, I think certainly, I mentioned PFAS before, and just the real experts you have in town, Town of Easton, starting with the town manager at dealing with that. So we've got a lot to learn there, and a lot further to go around the rest of the state. Chapter 70 education funding for our schools, our public schools, and school transportation. And so, and also a question of how much money the state is putting in locally, and how much of a contribution each municipality is putting in. I know this is a big issue in Easton. It's really a big issue for most towns right now, because I think everybody is dealing with inflationary costs in education and outside of that, in terms of the cost of doing business, as they're renegotiating contracts or they're setting budgets. Lots of towns are going for overrides. Many of them are not
We
succeeding.
had one, but it didn't. But it failed.
Yeah, and so there's an indication that, again, the cost of doing business has gone up dramatically. I was actually a state rep when we voted on Student Opportunity Act in 2018, which put billions of dollars into public education and was supposed to be kind of a generational investment, and it was at the time. But since then, the cost of educating our kids and transporting them, frankly, just as a subset, has ballooned. And so we have, if we're not able to, if a town isn't able to pass an override, you have class sizes growing. You have some that are not able to get on a bus service because
Right.
there's so many kids in the system. And so it's really not only putting a strain on the finances of the local municipality, but also at the kitchen table on homes to figure out how to get to and from work and get kids to school and so forth. So there actually is, so I do have a website, excuse me, BillDriscollJr.com, and I'll put these dates on there, but Department of Education is holding hearings, listening tour, specifically around the issue of local contribution to school transportation and school funding. This is an opportunity for residents from municipalities, elected or otherwise, to come in and basically give their perspective to DESE, the Department of Ed, and talk about this issue, because it's not going away.
No.
And we're blessed to have so many towns, particularly in this district, and they have great school systems, and so people want to move here because there's great companies in Massachusetts to work for, and there's great schools, public schools. You don't necessarily have to go the private route, and so we see continuing kids entering the system. So that's something I hear a lot about, not only here in Easton, but from across the district, that we really need to deal with. Yesterday in session, we passed a supplemental budget to close out the fiscal year 25, and similarly on this assessment topic, I think a lot of municipalities, as they're looking at the books, are seeing that they're paying a certain annual assessment into the MBTA, because they're considered one of the 128 communities that pay into the service area. That formula is a patchwork that started in 1918,
Wow.
and there are communities that maybe once had greater services, a rail line that may no longer exist,
Like Easton.
and they're still paying at that level. There are some communities that just frankly aren't named in the statute because it hasn't been updated over the decades. And so if they were, they would be assessed an annual assessment, could be $500,000, it could be $2 million, but they're not liable to pay right now because they're just frankly not named in the statute, which has to change. There's other carve-outs. There's regional transit authority carve-outs, so there's about 60 of the 128 that actually don't pay any money because they have a regional transit authority that they're supporting. Oh. So I think that's legitimate, but I think we need to look at this issue holistically to figure out what's an equitable format to do this in, because there are some towns that, as we dug into this formula, it made no sense. Some towns have population multipliers that just increase the level that they have to pay, and it's all based on when you entered the system. So places like Milton, Easton, Arlington had rail service 100 years ago. Right. And so they're named early in the statute. And by nature of just being an early adopter of the MBTA, they pay more to this day. So we really need to open this up. So I was actually successful in filing an amendment that was adopted in the supplemental budget. So we have to get it reciprocated in the House now at conference committee. But it tasked the MBTA and the MBTA advisory board to study and investigate, make recommendations, and report those recommendations back to the House, the Senate, and the MBTA board.
And that can take a long time.
It could. We did put a date of December 31st of 2026. So my hope is that the MBTA advisory board, which is made up of designees from municipalities that have T service, will really stay on top of this issue with the T to make sure that we get some recommendations on what we could do to make this a more equitable formula going forward. It's about $193 million come out of the 128 cities right now. And then, of course, the legislature, we are really backstopping the service right now. There's been great investment. We've got South Coast Rail. We've got a new Green Line extension. There's new Red Line stations going up. Again, all things that I think help all of us, even if we don't live down the street from a station. But we need to be able to level set, I think, more so than we. They didn't have that vision in 1918.
No.
Now we can kind of see how it's all played out.
Well, listen, one of the things that's been in the legislature for 5 years, I don't know if you're familiar with it, is a bill. It's in the Senate and also in the House. And it's been there for 5 years, and it's just, how things get stuck and don't go anywhere. Yeah. And it's to modernize the way community access televisions like ECAT here are funded. Now, if you ask most Easton residents, they'd say, oh, well, my tax money pays for that. No, it doesn't. And that's the biggest hurdle that we have to jump over, because we only get monies. We get a portion of the subscriber fees from cable stations, Verizon and Comcast. Now, I don't know about you, but I cut the cable cord 5-6 years ago, and I'm sure everybody else is. And so every year, our revenue is diminished by the number of subscribers who leave cable and go to streaming. And the interesting thing is that Verizon and Comcast also saw the writing on the wall, and so now they offer streaming services. Right. So what the bill is asking is that all the community access televisions throughout the Commonwealth get a portion of the streaming fees. That will rescue all of these public television stations, which inform the citizens, and let the grandparents in Toledo see their granddaughter or grandson playing soccer on the turf, artificial turf in Easton.
Yeah, no, like the sports coverage alone is well worth it. Yeah.
So if it's very important. So if this legislation doesn't get out of a joint committee, I don't even know if it's in the joint committee yet. But if it doesn't, these stations are going to die. Right. And Easton is in that category. So we ask for donations and so forth, but people donating, and we do have businesses and individuals who sponsor some of our programming, so it's, they donate. But to get individuals to understand that they're getting a service that doesn't, it might not be around for forever. So
and it's not only the sports coverage, it's the local government meetings, right? That's how you can either catch it on television or maybe pull it up on demand online.
You can pull it up on eastoncat.org.
Perfect.
Online. And then you can go to YouTube.
Right.
And you put in Easton Community Access Television, and you get all of the programming. And
I know that ECAT and others have done a good job of, essentially modernizing, keeping up with the times. And so I think it's completely reasonable to think that we need to adjust that formula as well, because it's there's some little bit of gaming, like you said, around what's streaming and what's traditional cable service out there. But it is it's something that we're aware of.
Well, listen, I hope that you look into those bills and push it along, give it a boost.
And there was another one too, I think you wanted to talk about, same-day voter registration.
Right, same-day voter registration.
So, I signed on as a co-sponsor of Same Day. I want to say to my clerk friends out there, I know this would give the clerks a lot more work to do. And so my hope is that when we're able to pass this someday, that we also provide some funding behind it to support them. But I think it's really important, because there's nothing more fundamental than living in the United States in a democracy than the right to vote. And I can say too that, particularly for me, like a personal, kind of looking at this, after watching what happened a few years ago on January 6th, when democracy in Washington was really threatened, because that could have gone a completely different way that night in terms of the votes being certified. And basically, my takeaway from, again, watching that from a distance, thank you to the law enforcement that made that situation simmer down, is that I don't want to ever stand in the way of someone's ability to vote. Right. And right now, we have you have to register to vote by a certain date before the election. You can still go in and vote and cast a provisional ballot usually, but it's important that we have this ability. Particularly if you can prove who you are, where you live. I don't think that I have a problem with that.
Okay, so we have 2 minutes left,
Sure.
And I wanted to hear your pitch to the Easton residents as to what would make your job easier if they contributed in some way.
Sure. Yeah, I think.
Or if you have any other final remarks.
No. Happy to talk about anything, but I think I just want people to know that we're there. I mentioned earlier, we do a lot of constituent services for folks. A lot of times people find us kind of too late. So my pitch would be that if you have a friend, neighbor, loved one, family member, someone, a coworker that is running into a brick wall with a state agency or any agency in the government, please reach out. Because if it's not something that we directly have a liaison relationship with in state government, we can connect you to the congressional offices. We can help find the right person in a particular town like Easton. And it's something that we're very well versed in. Because again, we're a lot of kind of like people of last resort call us like, what might be available for me? What can you do?
So be the first resort.
Yeah, so please reach out, because that's what a lot of the work that we do, in addition to all the legislating and trying to move these important issues forward, is helping people navigate the bureaucracy.
Well, thank you, Bill Driscoll, for being here. Your work in the Senate is challenging, but I know you can do it. You can handle it. Obviously, you're really very articulate in all of the aspects of your job, and we appreciate your sharing all that with us today. This is Priscilla. So thank you, viewers, for joining us. And until next time, be well.